Alcatraz prison. Most of you have probably heard of that place before. It was a maximum security federal prison on Alcatraz Island, 2.1 kilometers or 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco in the United States, which closed down in 1963 due to being too expensive and too difficult to run. It is now a museum you can visit. The most notorious prisoners were sent to Alcatraz, and everyone believed that they would never be able to escape. The reason as to why they thought this was because even if they did get to the edge of the island, they probably wouldn't survive swimming through the rough, choppy water, and the FBI said that the only people who got out of the prison died in the water. But as you have probably realized by now, through the title and thumbnail of this video, the FBI were wrong, and someone did manage to escape. If you thought so, you're correct. So let's dive right into the story of the escape from Alcatraz. So to tell this story, we need to go back to the year 1962. There had been 12 previously made attempts to escape, and none of them were successful. This was because not only had the daring prisoners needed to break out of their cells, they also had to get past high walls with razor wire, get past armed guards, and get to the San Francisco Bay, all of which would be extremely difficult. But there were 4 men who were up to the challenge. Their names were Clarence Anglin, John Anglin, Alan West, and Frank Morris, and the men attempted to escape on June the 11th, 1962. They knew each other well, as Clarence and John were brothers, and it just so happened that the 4 men were placed in jail cells adjacent to each other when the men were sent to their sentences. For 6 months, they devised their plan to escape. They needed to widen their ventilation ducts in their respective cells. They were too small to crawl into, so they used sharpened spoons, saw blades, and a drill that they had fashioned as a vacuum cleaner to widen the ducts. The guards didn't hear a thing though, as Morris would spend the time playing on his accordion, and so the guards weren't suspicious, as it wasn't the first time Morris played his accordion at that time. Eventually, it looked like a mess in the wall, so they painted a piece of cardboard, the same color as the wall, and stuck it over the hole when they weren't working. They did all this because they knew that when they would get through the hole, they would hit a utility tunnel far away from any guards. They also made a raft out of more than 50 raincoats that the men had stolen or other prisoners had given. They also made paddles and had life jackets, which were also made out of raincoats. What was probably the smartest thing that the men had done was that because they couldn't just go missing from their cells, they made dummies. Looking at the pictures of their heads, they look unbelievably lifelike, considering that the heads were made of cement, skin-colored paint, and human hair from the prison barber. It took about 6 months to get the rafts finished. And then there was the problem of getting to the water. Unfortunately for Alan West, he had used a kind of cement to keep his grill in place, but he hadn't realized the strength of the cement, and he couldn't even get his grill off on June 11, so he was left behind. His confession was why we know so much about this escape plan. The other 3 men got into the tunnel, got the rest of what they needed, and made their way to the roof. We have been told that from there, they scaled down a kitchen vent pipe, which was around 15 meters or 50 feet high. They then climbed over 2 fences covered with barbed wire that were 3.7 meters or 12 feet tall. Now they were in a blind spot from the guards, and so they inflated their raft there. It was not until the next day that the men had realized that the men were missing, so the men had plenty of time to get back to land. However, from there, their location had been unknown. It is, however, said that they indeed made it because The prisoner's older siblings had claimed that they were contacted, and apparently the Anglin brothers were sighted in Brazil. Also in 2013, the FBI received a letter from John Anglin stating that he was 80 and had cancer, that the group had barely made it out of prison, and that Frank Morris had died in 2008. And so, that is the story of the escape from Alcatraz. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel. And if you have time, like the video and share it around to show me your support. Thanks for watching.